As a child, did you ever dream of a zoo beyond your wildest imaginations? Where you could take a tour of the African savannas? A chance to meet creatures up close, unlike anything before. Creatures of the snowy tundra, must it be from the land down under, or the very beauty this world has to offer? If anyone has had that question, you're not wrong. For there are two places that exist to answer these very questions, and they happen to lie within the city of San Diego, California. The San Diego Zoo and the San Diego Zoo Safari Park have always been on my mind for 7 years now. I've seen so many things from these kingdoms that have left me speechless but happy as a child. I could go on, there's so many topics to talk about. Like an exhibit where penguins and sharks swim in the same tank. It's true. But I want to go over why you should visit these zoos. For one thing, you'll be surprised by the history, what species they've managed to save, and how exactly you and your children will benefit from this visit. And the reason I say it is because, well, my sister and I, we visited that place for 3 years, from 2015 to 2018. My grandmother and grandfather used to live in California until they moved to Austin, Texas, but it was through my grandmother that introduced me to San Diego Zoo, plus the Safari Park. I wouldn't have been there without her. That's why I hope this will strongly encourage people not to visit California, not for the zoos, but for the culture along with the beauty of nature. So first off, let's start off with the history. This is kind of a biggie because they're both pretty big and they have a lot of events, but I'll be going over how they were started and what their anniversaries did. So, to begin, around October 1st, 1916, from what Wikipedia says, Dr. Harry M. Wedgworth founded the Zoological Society of San Diego, formerly known as the Panama California Exposition. Here's where the zoo grew, for after it was abandoned a year before, Wedgworth revitalized it, the place had exotic animals that it already had, which were abandoned after the exposition shut down in 1915. Why did he decide to start a zoo here? Well, from what he said, he heard a lion roar, and it gave him the idea, the inspiration, to start a journey that still continues today. From his own words, he said, "Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a zoo in San Diego? I believe I'll build one." That was why for the centennial in 2016, 100 years, everybody, a colorful lion was used, the very animal that inspired Wedgworth to create the San Diego Zoo. So now we have the zoo out of the way, let's talk about the Safari Park. Well, around 1964, the San Diego Zoological Society, this was still the zoo, became interested in developing what would become the Safari Park, the Wild Animal Park. Originally proposed as a breeding facility for large animals and ungulates, basically large hoofed animals, it began to lean onto being a zoo exhibiting animals in natural environments rather than cages. And after so many delays, on May 10th, 1972, the Wild Animal Park was open to the public. Hosting animals from the wilds of Asia and Africa, it's so far become the largest destination for tourists in San Diego. And just recently, too, on May 10th, 2022, they celebrated their 50-year anniversary of their journey of hard work. And these are the stories and histories of the zoos. But what species have they managed to save from extinction? Well, here's a list of 2 of them. First off is the California condor, the largest land bird in North America. For what the San Diego Zoo Safari Park's history tells, in the 80s, the condor was on the brink of extinction due to agricultural chemicals, poaching, lead poisoning, and habitat destruction. With only 22 remaining in the wild, the government decided to start a conservation program to capture all individuals with the intent of saving the species. With the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance receiving permission to commence the first captive propagation program for the condors. Thanks to their efforts, along with the California Condor Recovery Program, the population is more than 500 now, with half of them soaring the wild skies of California once again. But meanwhile, on the land, the Arabian oryx is another animal the zoos have managed to save. According to the Safari Park, originally found in the Arabian Peninsula in the Sinai Desert of Egypt, the Arabian oryx was overhunted to extinction. As a result, in 1972, the first oryx arrived from Operation Oryx, a breeding program attempt to save in the oryx. And thanks to the combined efforts of the safari park and the zoo, almost 400 have been born in the park, with many being reintroduced to Oman and Jordan to revitalize their wild ranges. But now imagine yourself being there, seeing all these magnificent animals, African elephants, polar bears, hippos. Well, you and your children will be amazed at what the zoos have to offer if you visit. To begin with, let's start off with the most iconic attraction of the safari park, the Africa Trams, guided tour rides that take you around its African plains, one of its largest exhibits to date. The safari park ensures you have a chance to learn more about the wildlife of Africa, giving you and your children an opportunity to learn what this planet offers. And how do I know? I've been on that tour 4 times. And if it weren't for my grandmother, like I said, I never would have learned what Africa was really like. But kids will also have the opportunity of a lifetime to learn about wildlife through San Diego Zoo's recent exhibit, Wildlife Explorers Base Camp. According to the KPBS article, this exhibit was built on the former children's zoo, aimed to teach children about environments and the wildlife around the world. For what Daniel and Miller said about their 4, it gives them a place to get out their energy so they can focus on more when we want to stop and learn. It makes learning fun, like they could see squirrel monkeys, for example. These are the reasons why I strongly encourage visiting the San Diego Zoo and the Safari Park. I assure you, one visit, and you'll probably be coming back. And I wanted to do this because this has always been my favorite zoo as a child. I had a fun time over there, and it's been years since I've been there, and I wish to go back. I really do. I just hope one day to take a picture and just compare it to my 10-year-old self and see how far I've come to get back to the very place that made me happy. That's why I hope all of you decide to take a trip amongst these 2 amazing zoos and see what they have to offer, like I did, and you will be happy.